I'm Ollie. I'm community manager at Stacker, and general sort of no-code enthusiast, I would say. And we've been running these events to try and educate people on how to get the most out of Stacker, what you can build with it, and just to kind of show off how quickly you can get something created. Because I think to build something like this with a traditional method of code would take quite a lot more time. And I think it's really impressive how even if you don't have a non-development, a non-coding background, you can now build really cool tools in a whole variety of different use cases. So just in terms of what we're going to do today, in a moment, like I said, I'll hand over to Chaya, and we're going to start actually building something with Stacker live in front of you. So we've got the chat functionality enabled on the right-hand side of Zoom, or you click it at the bottom, I think, if you don't have it up. We're totally open to questions as we build, and comments and suggestions and things like that. So please do just jump in with like, oh, what if it did this instead? Or could it do this? And we'll do our best to accommodate. So totally up for that. And yeah, in terms of housekeeping, we'll have a bit of time for Q&A at the end as well, but please do try and keep those questions coming in as we build. We're going to be using Stacker with Stacker tables today. So I know a few of you came along to the last Stackathon we did where we used Airtable. Cool thing about Stacker is that you can build stuff with a whole variety of different data sources, including Airtable, including Google Sheets. You can bring in data from HubSpot and Salesforce and things like that as well. But Stacker tables is kind of cool because it's built in and you can just kind of start with it. And Chaya is going to take us through that in a moment. And yeah, I think to save me talking too much more, Chaya, I might get you to introduce yourself very quickly, if that's okay. Just talk a bit about Skive as well and like what it is that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Chaya Gutnick, founder of Skive. We are we help people choose and set up the right softwares for the business. Our tagline is customized software without the custom price tag. So we're all about helping you get exactly what you need, customized to your business without having to go to custom code. So that is what we do at Skive. We are also about to launch a community, which Ollie, maybe I'll talk about at the end. We're about to launch a community that we're really excited with a really exciting name. And I'll tell you more about that later. And really what I wanted just to say about Stacker is that, I use many no code and low code tools. There are many, many on the market. And what impresses me about Stacker is that it's just easy for the novice to get started. Someone, let's say someone like me, right, who has used so many tools. Okay, great. I was able to easily get started at Stacker. That doesn't really prove anything. But when you see that people who don't have experience with like all these no code and low code software tools are able to get up and running really quick, that's really special to see. I know that a lot of platforms kind of try to say in their marketing, like, oh, an hour later, you'll be, up and running, you'll have saved, 20 hours. And a lot of times it's really just marketing speak. And I do feel like it is true, though, when it comes to Stacker, that, what Stacker covers, like in an hour, you can be up and running. So that's, one of the reasons that I love Stacker so much.
I totally agree. I know I'm biased, of course, because I'm here at Team Stacker, but I learned to build with no code with Bubble, and the kinds of tools that I could build with Bubble would take me probably about 100 times the amount of time it takes me to build with Stacker. Get a bit more customization, and I could make it look a little bit more like what I want it to. But Stacker is just, I love it for just that kind of speed of execution. So today we're going to be building, oh, sorry, Chaya, did you have any more that you wanted to say about yourself?
No, go ahead.
Cool. I'm super excited to hear about the community as well. Community and no code are like my two things. So we're going to be joined by Vincent very soon. He runs a company called Iguality, who are based in Barcelona, which has helped us. Oh, there you go. You say his name and he is summoned. I'm going to have to give him co-host abilities. Vincent, now you should be able to turn your camera on now. Hey.
Hello.
Hello. So Thank you so much for joining us. We're underway. I was literally just saying your name and you have been summoned. There you go, perfect. I know that you've just joined, but basically myself and Chaya have already introduced ourselves and would love to hear just a very quick bit about you and Iguality, Iguality, I can say it, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry for the background noise. I had to run to a bar quickly for this meeting. But yeah, so my name is Vincent. I'm the co-founder and coordinator of Iguality, like Spanish-English mixed, because we're based in Barcelona. Yeah, I'm the co-founder. We actually really recently started the organization. We're still in the process of building it. That's why this was amazing timing that Stacker reached out to us. And basically, we are focused on a lot of providing mental health support for free to different kind of communities, especially communities that are more, let's say, vulnerable situations. But our main aim in general is to provide equal opportunities. So that goes for mental health, but also for education, labor integration, and also access to a community, actually, because we see a lot of people in more difficult situations also tend to be missing out on having a community and some people around, let's say. But yeah, the core focus is a lot on mental health and everything related to that. So offering free counseling, group therapy, art therapy is also planned. And that's mainly what we do for now in Barcelona. So yeah, that's me and us, basically.
It's such an awesome project. Like, thank you so much for sharing it. And, when you first reached out to Stacker, we're just so excited to hear about what you're doing. I'm in quite a privileged position that I get to see all of the different things people do with Stacker and all of the different types of organization. What you do is amazing. But yeah, in terms of getting started with the actual build, I mean, Vincent, do you want to maybe just give a kind of quick idea of like what your kind of wave a magic wand and what this thing, might look like? And I'm not saying we'll get all of this done today, but like kind of give us an idea of like who it's for and like what it solves, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so especially in Spain and Catalonia and here in Barcelona, what I've seen is that in the social sector, it lacks a clear overview basically of what's out there, both for people looking for certain kinds of support, whether it's psychological support or if you're a migrant looking for legal support with your papers, these kind of things, or you're from an LGBTQ community, you're looking for specific psychological support in that regard. It's hard to find. You have to start Googling. There are some websites from municipalities where you can see a social map, but it's basically literally a map, so it's hard to filter. Maybe there's a filter, but it's not so advanced. And the same for professionals looking for partner organizations that they can work with to, for instance, if they offer legal support, but they get people that also need psychological support, that they can connect them and work together. So the idea of this platform is indeed to, especially with no code, to make it very easily accessible, to make it easy to manage, because there have been efforts to build it, but people start coding it and it requires a lot of maintenance and the whole teams, well, with the nice thing with Stacker in theory, won't need it, especially if you have a really good base. So the idea is to build a base where anyone could access and request access and get access, whether there are individuals or organizations, and see all the organizations in different views, but specifically filter by what kind of target groups an organization may support, what kind of collaborations they're looking for, where they're located, which neighborhood, and if you would extend the platform, you just add a filter for country or region. So filtering is a key aspect that someone who is, for instance, a migrant looking for specific psychological support in their neighborhood, because maybe they don't have money to travel to the other side of Barcelona, they could filter target group migrants, location, Raval in this case maybe, and type of service psychological support, and see which organization offered it. And each organizational record would have contact details, or at least a website, maybe individual contacts, and any kind of other useful data that these organizations can update themselves by being given permission to do that. So we're talking about different permission levels, maybe a user that can actually log in and say favorite organizations, etc. A lot of functionalities that are optional for later, let's say. That's the logic.
Cool. Okay. No, that all sounds, super clear. And I love that point that you made about how people, with coded solutions, often it's difficult for an organization, especially, in the third sector, a nonprofit, to then pick up building that down the line. And I don't think it's easy for picking up a no-code solution as well. You really do have to train people and get them on board with it. But I think it is a lot easier to pick up something like Stacker than, a code base built by someone, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, actually, just to add to that, the reason why I used Stacker in my previous NGO, I built the whole platform for hiring people from, let's say, well, actually migrants and refugees, and it was brilliant. It took me a few months because it was quite a big database, actually linked to Airtable before the functionality of even having a database within Stacker. But yeah, if I would have coded that, there's a lot of organization that tried and it all stranded because the maintenance, already just how it looks like, was user friendly. People wouldn't sign up. Yeah, so that's why I thought, hey, this would be amazing for the same logic for this platform.
Amazing, cool. Well, I can sort of picture it, but Chaya, how are you feeling? Are you feeling like you can kind of imagine this directory type thing where people can log in, like potentially different types of permissions? Like, you feeling?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, what we find when we start building is that often, we start building based on what we understand. And then, whoever's asking us to build it will see what we've built and then say, oh, I really wanted this, or you know what? Okay, this is really cool, but add this. So I've got an idea for the base, and I think we can start building that and then see how much time we have to build whatever add-ons Vincent can come up with.
Sounds awesome. Yeah. Will we get started? And again, so for people who are watching, if you have any kind of questions or sort of suggestions for what the app could do, just put them in the chat and we'll try and incorporate them. But Chaya, are you okay to kind of share your screen and we can start building?
Let's get started.
Nice. I can see this. This is good.
Perfect. Okay, so what you see here is what you're going to see once you sign up for Stacker. You're just going to have this button over here to create an app. Now in Stacker, right now, I actually have access to 2 workspaces, and you see that these are 2 companies. So workspaces are if for whatever reason you're building for 2 companies. I don't believe most people will have multiple workspaces, but you do see that I have our Skive workspace, and then I have I tried this. Iguality, is that how you pronounce it?
Iguality.
Yeah.
Equality. Yeah.
Okay. Iguality. So over here I have access to Igualities. You generally are not going to want to make multiple workspaces. That's really only if you're building for separate companies. Now, in addition, you can have different apps. So it's possible that you might need different apps for this company. So that's where you would use this add a new app button. Some companies are only using one app, some are using multiple, but an app is really an application, that your company is using, and therefore there might be multiple. So we're going to go ahead here and create a new app. We could also click over here to add a new app. And we're going to call it, let's say Nonprofit Hub. Or Vincent, do you have anything else in mind? This can also always be changed later.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine like this.
Perfect. So we're going to call it Nonprofit Hub. We can choose an icon. I'm not going to spend time kind of looking through these to see what might fit, this company well. So I'm kind of just going to leave it with what it has, but you can change it. And you can also set a specific color. So if you have a brand color, you can choose from here and find the color that would work best for you. I'm just going to click on the blue to change that. And then here I get to choose who is this app accessible to. So everybody in the workspace or only me. If for whatever reason you're building something private or you're building something that you don't want others to see because it might be overwhelming, right now, generally you're going to click all users and then we're going to click create. Okay, so it's been created. Now, what's nice about Stacker is that it's really prompting me like what to do next. Like when I sign up, it's asking me, create a new app. And now it's saying create your first table. Now, when we think about, like a listing or a directory, a table is where all the information about those organizations are going to be stored. And then we are going to use, Stacker to display that information in a user-friendly and good-looking way. So the first thing we have to do is add in our data. So I'm going to click to add a first table to get started. I'm going to choose paste data from spreadsheet. Now you can add a new table, which is just going to look like a blank spreadsheet. You can import. So if you have the data in something like Google Sheets, you're able to import, or you can paste data from spreadsheet. I think pasting data is quite fascinating. So I'm going to choose that one today. And so Vincent has provided for us some dummy data to start building this. And so what I'm going to do is really just copy it. Let's make sure I've gotten everything. No, I have not. So, you know, I'm copying all this data, Control C.
So one neat thing about Stacker is you can also just use a Google Sheet as your data source. So you could have it so when your Stacker app is updated, it also updates the Google Sheet. That's one way to do it, but I personally prefer the simplicity of just pasting in, like, big fan of that.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, if you have an Excel sheet, you know, you would do the same thing like a desktop one. So I'm going to go ahead and paste, and it actually looks really messy. And you're kind of like, what's it going to do with all of this stuff? But it actually does take the data really nicely. And it says I have 5 records, which is correct. You know, they see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 14 headers. So it's actually pulled this really nicely. I'm going to call this table organizations because these are, I did not spell that right. I'm going to call this the organizations because this is where we're keeping the data about all the organizations. And I'm going to hit import. Now, what you see here is pretty much just a copy of what you've seen over here. And I have my data in here. So we have an ID, we have the organization name, we have their address, city, country, website, email address, phone number. Then over here, we have target groups, which came in incorrectly, and I'll explain that in a minute. The tax number, the main contact. So this main contact is the person who is the main contact about this listing. You know, it's not, this is the main contact. Like if a user wants information to learn more about the organization, they're going to use one of these contact information. But when it comes to the listing itself, this is the information about the person who is managing this listing specifically. So the one thing that came out incorrectly is the target groups and support languages. What it's done is it created a single select, and we really need a multiple select, meaning that here it's saying we can only choose one thing, but really we want to be able to choose multiple, because if you see here, I'll open that again. So like, you know, we want to be able to say, okay, Hack Your Future, they service migrants, women, homeless people, and unemployed. I want to be able to filter, you know, if I'm a migrant, I want to be able to filter by which ones help migrants. And so the way this is set up is not correct because it's a single select. So what I need to do is move it to a multiple select, which means that I can choose multiple. But these choices are still incorrect. And so what I have to do is do like migrants, women, homeless people. And so I'm really just putting all the choices that there are in each in their own line. So, you know, we've got all of this, unemployed and refugees. I think we've got everything here. You know, so now we have a multiple select and I can choose any of these items. I'm going to click Save Changes. And now what I need to do is go and select the correct ones. So I'm not going to be worried about making sure that this matches the dummy data that Vincent gave me. But, you know, let's say Hack Your Future. I just reset it, you know, caters to, you know, migrants, homeless people, and unemployed. So I'm just going to choose random ones for right now, since it's dummy data anyway. So let's say this one only caters to homeless people. Over here, you know, we're going to do homeless people and women, you know, refugees, unemployed. So I'm just going ahead and, you know, selecting who the target groups are for that organization. And, you know, you can choose one, kind of like I did over here, or was it over here? Or you can choose as many as you want, up to all of them. The same thing happened for support language. So if we look at that, it's done the same thing where it created it as a single select, and I really need it to be a multiple select. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, Croatian, English, Dutch. I'm going to add the T in there. English, let's delete that. We don't need it. Spanish and Catalan. And we still need Portuguese. Okay, I'm going to hit save changes. And then now I need to do the same thing, which is select which languages each of these organizations are supporting. Same thing, I'm not worrying about making it match up the dummy data that was there before, because none of it is relevant anyways. But, you know, just giving each a few of these options. Ollie, have there been any questions so far?
I was about to say not yet, but literally as you said it. Oh, so it's about the screen sharing. Is the screen sharing delayed for anyone else? I'm not getting a screen share delay, but if anyone else is in the chat, just say, and no delay. I think we're okay. Marissa, you may want to try rejoining. Perhaps that would help it, but no questions about the build so far, Chaya, but a great explanation of how to change that data.
Perfect. So over here we have, you know, the spreadsheet. Now it's all formatted correctly. And I'm actually going to, meaning I'm going to do it in a different way than I would do it if I were building, like if Vincent came to me and told me build this, I would actually do it in a different way. But because I'm trying to help you guys understand how to build this, I'm going to do it in a way that like makes sense flow-wise. Or understanding wise, you know, but once you really get the hang of it, you'll know how to maybe do things a little bit faster. So the next thing we need to do is edit the layout. So how do we want people to see this information? Because this information isn't particularly helpful for a user. You know, they can't filter by what city, by what country, by what target group. It's not a particularly pretty setup. And so we want to choose how are people going to see this information. And so that's when we go to edit layout. So I'm going to hit here, edit layout. And what we see over here is slightly better, but still not what we want yet, where you see just lists of everything. And so the first thing I'm going to click over here is the display. Now, I have many choices of how to display the information. For listings, often people like cards, so I'm going to show you that. So here we see that we have a card for each organization. Still not good, but we're getting somewhere. Now, there are a few things that we have to do over here. So we can choose how many records they want to see. You know, I don't have more than 12, so it's not really relevant, but you know, that is a choice. And you can choose any of this stuff as well. Now, the next thing we really want to add is inline filters, because one of the big things that Vincent said he wanted is for people to be able to filter by who they service and you know, what country and things like that. So I've clicked on inline filters and I'm going to activate them. Now, I can either choose that they can filter by anything, which is city, country, target group, or support language, or I can choose specific ones. Let's just say I didn't want them to be able to filter by support languages for what, I mean, you know, for whatever reason. So then I would just toggle on country, city, target groups, and they won't be able to filter by support languages. This isn't relevant for our builds. So I'm going to turn that toggle off and you've got all the choices, but it is a nice option when it is relevant. Okay, the next problem I'm seeing over here is that the ID number that Vincent gave, if you see it over here, there was an ID number. Oh, let's save and continue. Yeah, Stacker is really good at prompting you to do that as well. Vincent had given me ID numbers, and those are coming up as the titles. And I don't think users have to see the ID numbers. Vincent, is that right? Is the ID numbers just an internal thing, or is it something external?
Yeah, it's just like the unique value of, like, if you have an organization, maybe there are 2 hectare futures, and they have in a different country the same name, but they still have a unique ID in that sense.
Makes sense. So yeah, we don't really need the users to see that number. And so going back to display over here, it's asking me, do I want to show all fields, or do I want to choose fields to display? And I'm going to want to choose fields to display. Now, this Zoom UI is blocking me. So over here, I basically have all the rows, and I can choose what I want them to see. So starting from ID, I actually want to turn ID off. And so now you see that the organization is here at the top, which is more like what we're looking to do. We can choose if we want them to see the address on here or not. Maybe, on the more info page, we want the address, so I can go ahead and turn that off. City and country is nice. Website. So what we're actually going to do for the website is hit edit over here, treat as a URL, and display as a button. So right now, that website link, instead of looking as, it did before, which is like this, we're actually displaying it as a button, which is very nice. And I can also change what it says over here, which would be something like visit website. So, now we have that button to visit website. We might often want that at the bottom. So I can just drag this over here and put it at the bottom. So now it's at the bottom of the card, which is a more typical view that people are used to seeing, these cards with the button at the bottom. By the way, Vincent, if you ever have stuff to add, write in the chat or unmute or, whatever.
I will. So far, so good.
Perfect. Okay, so we see the organization name, the city, the country, the email address, phone number, target groups, and support languages. Tax number, I don't think, we need users to see. And also this main contact name and email phone number, we really don't need them to see, because that's really just for the company to manage this listing, but it's not something that's important for users who are coming here to look for services to see. So I'm going to turn that off. Not sure why that toggle's not working. Ollie, any?
I am surprised, as you are. Maybe try moving it and just give it a...
Oh, I got it.
There we go.
Perfect. Yeah, right. Okay, so over here, we've cleaned these up a bit. But another thing that is very commonly used when there are listings is images. And the images really make this look a lot nicer. And so while Vincent did not provide any dummy, images, which is fine because these are dummy organizations, I do want to add those in. And so what I'm going to do over here is go back to the table. And I'm going to add a row over here. Let's see, attachment. And I'm going to call this logo, create fields.
So attachments covers all types of files, includes, if you're looking for it to upload images, it's under attachments as well. It trips people up sometimes.
Okay, so I have downloaded some random logos. The logos are not going to match the organization name, but just to give you an idea of what we can do here, I am going to be adding some logos. So you see me here, I'm adding files, selecting a file. I don't think you can actually see me selecting files from my computer, but that's a very typical thing that most people are used to. So I'm going to go ahead and add those logos for all the records, for all the organizations. The file.
I think images are great because, really what we're doing here is trying to create an experience out of this data. And, rather people could, in theory, just look at a spreadsheet. They could look at a long list of data, but it's just not it's difficult to pass as humans, but if you create things that look good, people are more likely to use them and understand them. And I think, yeah, images are a very big key to that.
Yeah. So over here, I've added the logos for all 5 records. And so now I'm going to go back into editing the layout. And let's see, logo. So we're going to turn on the logo. Now, also, you see it coming down over here. And so I'm going to drag that up to the top.
Is it cover image that you're looking for up at the top of
Yes.
edit layout? So if you go up a little bit.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's slightly different for what that is. Yeah.
Perfect.
There we go.
And then I can actually turn logo off. So I'm actually going to explain what I just did. And Ollie's right. I missed that for a second. So I've added it and I've actually turned it off down here. But then over here in cover image, I can choose what's the cover image for each of these listings. And the source is the logo row. And you can choose to crop or fit, like I'm not going to deal with those design details, right now. But now you've seen like we've cleaned it up a little bit, made it look a little bit better. I will say that for people using it, like when a user is logged in, it is going to be a bit of a wider screen. I'm just going to show you because here it's like a little squished, so it is a wider screen when people are logging in. And Vincent, like after this might decide to actually take out some of this information so that this listing is more square rather than like very long to look at, because the next thing we really are going to talk about is that when I click on this, so when I click on, this organization, it actually takes me to a details page. And so the next thing I need to do is edit these details. So I'm going to go to edit layout again. And I can choose hold on, that's not click. I can choose a template. So profile is one that people like a lot. So this is kind of taking the image over here, some main details over here, and then the rest over here. I can choose listing, which looks like this. So it's like a big logo at the top, details at the bottom, or default, which is the first thing that I came up where it's putting this over here. Vincent, do you have a preference?
Yeah, on top better, I think.
Which one?
The profile version.
Okay, yeah, I like the profile. I like the profile version a lot. We use it quite often. So now that we've chosen the layout for this details page, and this is actually going to apply to every listing. So it right now kind of looks like we're only editing FICAT, or however you pronounce it. We're actually editing this layout for every single organization. So once we edit this layout, it's going to apply to all the organizations. Now what's the record heading? We want to say that that's ID. That's the organization name. We don't need the ID number here. If we want a subheading would be if you have like a blurb about this organization. Right now we don't in this dummy data. I'm just gonna, turn here. But if you did have like a blurb about what they did, that often goes over here, but we're not going to choose a subheading, and the profile image, they've already chosen the logo. They knew to do that automatically. Okay, now we're going to go into profile field. So this is this stuff, like what do we want to see here? Now, let me just, I'm sorry. This is the profile fields that are going to end up showing up over here on the side. So we have found, let's say we've done this for after school program who has a profile on each of their students. And so there's a lot of data that we have about each student. And so it really just helped to like have a quick sidebar that had like emergency contact, I think we put there. So it was like child's name, and an emergency contact. So it's kind of like a really nice way to put things that you need very quickly in the sidebar. Over here, we might put, their website might be an interesting idea, which again, we would tell it to treat it as a URL and then display as a button, and we can say visit website. You know, so that might be like a nice thing to put over there. And then anything else, you know, you come up with can be added. Now going back to over here, so the fields to show, we can actually divide these fields into multiple sections. So going back to, I don't think that this applies to this setup, but I'm just going to go back to the after school program. So because each student had a lot of information, it's like parents' contact info, what their, which programs they're enrolled in, which programs have they previously been enrolled in, then a lot of like demographic, like birthday, you know, things like that. And so we did divide the information. It was kind of like student information with all the student information in one section, parent information, you know, with all that information in one section, emergency contact, and then program information, you know, based on like what programs they were enrolled in or had previously been enrolled in. And so that's a really nice way to use sections. We probably can use sections. Actually, it wouldn't really apply here. I was going to say we could use a section for the main contact info, but we're actually not showing that to users. And so it's kind of irrelevant. So going over here, we're again going to, is this adding to this section? So I need to go back. Ollie, maybe you can jump in here and.
Are you just looking to change the top section? Yeah, if you click there and then choose fields to display. Choose fields to display on the right there. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
there we go.
Okay, so I click on this and then I'm choosing to choose which fields to display. Now we can turn off the organization name because it's over here on the side. We can have the address, city, country, website we can turn off because we've already put it over here. Email address, phone number, you know, target groups and support languages. Tax number doesn't need to be there. Main contact name, again, is internal use. Email, main contact, phone number, main contact is all internal use. And we can also turn off the logo. So now you see we kind of have like a nicer setup. Before there was like a lot of stuff going on. We have a nice little sidebar over here with the logo, the name of the organization, and the link to the website. And then here is, you know, the rest of that information. So that is how we set up the details page. And I just want to go back for a second. So if we go back to organizations, you know, I can click on raise, and raise is going to look the same way as the other one did, you know, just showing how I edited one. It looks like I was just editing one, but this is editing for all of them, the way they're all going to look. Okay, so going back to organizations. So the next thing we need to do, and this is actually the most complex thing we need to do, is set the user permissions, which means we want people to be able to sign up to just be able to view as a user. If I'm a migrant, if I'm a homeless person, right, I should be able to sign up and access this database. That is a typical and needed user permission. But then we have another type of user permission, which is that we need, you know, the main contact for FICAT to be able to come in here and edit things. Maybe they've changed their phone number. Maybe they now support a new language. Maybe they don't support a language anymore. You know, ooh, did I not save? Because I see that email main contact is showing up here. So let me just go and see what's going on. Yeah, because those are things we don't save. Those are things we don't need to see. But that person now needs to have access to edit. And the interesting thing about it is that we don't want to give them access to edit all of them, meaning, you know, borders none. We don't want to give them access to edit Hack Your Future. We only want to give them access to edit borders none. And so that's why this is a bit of a more advanced permissioning situation, because it's not that users, they just can see everything. Admin, like can edit everything. But now we're trying to do a user permission where certain people can only edit a very specific thing. And so that's what we're going to go ahead and do.
That was the button that I couldn't find in the last Stackathon. That was hidden.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so now we're going to choose organizations, and the email address is not the main email address, but the email main contact. And we're going to choose that. I believe we're choosing automatic over here. And so now, that email address can only access this. And so we're going to hit connect.
So
Ollie, what did I miss?
No, it's all good. Yeah, I think you'll still need to set up permissions, but what we've done here is with Stacker apps, you need to choose who can get access to the app. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can actually just have it so anyone can sign up. So you send someone a register link. I think that's under user settings, and you have open sign up.
So we would enable open sign up.
Yeah, but
I also need to manage the roles.
Yes, so the way we've got it set up just now is that we have this table that has email addresses in, and only those people have access to this app. So if someone was to come along and try and log in without an email address that doesn't match those, then they wouldn't be able to get access. But the other difference, other sort of two ways that you can do this is you can have a unique user table where it's a very simple thing where basically only these people have access to the Stacker app. Or you can use a table that you have. In this case, we've used the organizations table that we imported to define who your users are. So using the email addresses in that organization table, we've now basically said that those 5 or 6 people can access this app. I am aware this is a moment of kind of quite a bit of complexity when it comes to learning this, but it's one of those things you can kind of play around with a bit, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah. So over here, I'm editing user roles because, like I explained before, we do need 2 separate roles, which is one is a user, which they can see everything, but they can't edit. And then there's another one, which is the organization admin. What I needed to do first is to go into the settings. So this is settings of the whole app, and add in first in permissions, first in roles. I had to add in the organization manager role over here. On the table view, I had to, here I'm on the table view. I need to add a permission level. And so right now I'm trying to only give the organization manager or admin access. So we're only giving them access to some records. We're choosing that we need their record to match the organization profile, which means if, here, let's look at this. So the organization's name, is borders none, and the main contact is, Natasa. So only when she's logged in, she is only going to get access to this because her email address is linked to this organization. And the same thing with, Pamela FICAT. She's only going to have access to the FICAT record. That's what we're doing by saying the user record has to manage the organization profile. And then I'm going to hit done.
Chaya, just as a sort of time heads up, I realize we've only got 8 minutes left. The time has flown so quickly. But yeah, please do carry on.
Yeah, so I'll finish this up before time, don't worry. So right now we're saying only organization managers should have this type of access. That role that we set up before in the settings over here. Now we're not actually going to allow them to delete records, so we're not going to check that off. But over here, it basically allows us to say, people who are in the role of organization manager and their email address matches the email address in the main contact of an organization can have access to that organization. But what can they do? They can read everything, that we want to give them full permissions of. Now, what are they allowed to update? So I'm going to actually you know, unselect ID because that's an internal thing. We don't want them to be able to update the ID. Organization name, like Vincent, what do you think? Do we want to give them access to update the organization name?
I wouldn't, no.
Yeah. You know, so I'm taking that off, but like things like address, city, country, website, email address, phone number, target groups, you know, all of this stuff, we're giving them access to edit. Now, what can they create? I'm actually going to turn this all off. I would say if an address is not, I don't know, Ollie, what do you think here?
I was just going to say, what was in the chat, Vincent's battery is having problems, so he's going to try and rejoin on his phone.
Okay.
But sorry, which was the field?
The create.
Mm-hmm.
Do we
I would say
give them access to create anything?
I'd say probably not. From my understanding of this, you know, how people would access it, like that they wouldn't be creating those things, that they might want to update, and creation would be done by the kind of admin running the whole thing, I think.
Yeah. So over here, we're giving them access to update pretty much everything except the ID and the organization name. And then we're going to hit save. So now we have users, which I need to edit because I just saved that quickly. So they can access all records. We're going to call this, you know, just users. And we're connecting it to user. And we're basically saying they cannot update anything. They cannot create anything. And we're actually not even going to let them read any of this stuff because all of this stuff is not stuff that they need to see. So we're not even letting them read that. And we're going to hit save. And so now we have organization admins who are connected to the email address of the organization. They are allowed to update some. They can read everything. They can update some. They can't create. They can't delete. Users, which is anybody who can sign up because I have enabled open sign up, can view all the records. They can read some because I've taken away some. They can never update, create, or delete. Now, I would say, you know, here it said all records, but a very useful feature is that sometimes, let's say over here, you know, we're adding in a new record, you know, we want to add in a new nonprofit. I'm just going to call this new, but we don't have all the information filled out yet, right? So we have new and we've given them an ID, right? But we don't have enough information that we actually want them to be able to see it. And so there are a few ways to do that. You know, we can have like a status field over here. And I would just call it status, and it should be a single select. And it's not ready to post and posted. And you can change, you know, those. But what this is going to allow me to do is basically say that all of these fields, all of these ones are posted, but this one is not ready to be posted. So I'm quickly just going to mark all of these as posted. And in that case, and then here I'm going to mark this as not ready to, no, not this one, 6. Posted, and then not ready to post. And so going back to those permissions for a second, I can actually edit this and say, they can only see some records that meet certain conditions. And I can choose a filter here based on status, which the Zoom UI is again blocking. Give me a second, data filter, search. And then here we're on status, and we can say status is posted. And that's how we say that these users are only going to see records that are posted and not, so we can start working on these records before any user can see them, and only the Zoom UI, you know, only the users can actually use it. So we have 2 minutes. I want to show you what we've created. The permissions is definitely the most complex part, But over here, we have something called organizations, and we can actually call that something different. You can scroll through and view all the organizations. You can choose to filter by city. So if I live in Barcelona, I'm going to only choose the ones that are in Barcelona. And then I can also choose a target group. So if I'm a woman, you know, and now I've filtered it by, you know, organizations that are in Barcelona that target women. And then I can either hit visit website over here, or I can click on this to see more info. And of course, you know, visit website here, you know, clicking on this website is going to take me to their page. And so that is, you know, the initial build. Vincent, I know we didn't get to, you know, add anything else, you know, but Ali, you can take it from here.
No, I mean, just incredible like work, Chaya, like just amazing, you know, what you can build in such a short space of time. And I do think, you know, permissions is something, even the most seasoned, you know, it doesn't matter what tool you use, they're fiddly, you know, they take a little, you know, a couple of goes. Every time I create an app, it normally takes me a couple of sort of drive-bys of permissions to you know, remember how exactly do you configure this again?
Yeah, and to my, you know, credit, we work in a lot of different platforms, you know, and all of them, like the permissions are slightly different.
Sure.
You know, so it's always fun.
There was going to be one more thing I was going to ask. Would you be up for clicking the preview button? I think that might be a useful thing, just to show people how it might look as a user. It's a very helpful button for.
Yeah. So over here we can click to preview, and what's actually nice is that these records cannot be loaded.
If you try picking a particular user.
So, you know, if we choose Vince, because I had these. Let me see if I can turn it on. You know, so I'm previewing as Vincent. You know, it's not different for everybody right now, but I can also choose to view it as a user. You know, so this is what a user would see, and then an organization manager. So I would have to probably choose a specific one in order to be able to see anything.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's a good way to check, you know, what experience are the different types of users in your app getting when they log in. So we're on 3 o'clock. Thank you so much. Again, just super appreciate what you did, Vincent, and thank you so much for, you know, sort of helping structure this. Like, do you have any thoughts, like any kind of parting things for the audience?
No, I hope you hear me well. I switched to my AirPods, but no, it's super interesting, and it's exactly the kind of platform that I was thinking. I think there's so many functionalities to add. I know from the previous app that I built that I can already think of now. So yeah, super interesting, and this will be very useful for our organization and for the work that we want to do, even building other comparable platforms. So yeah, thanks a lot for the invite and selecting us of all the NGOs you're supporting, because I don't know if you mentioned that, but it's an amazing offer you give to NGOs to offer the platform for a huge discount and even for free, I think. So that is really useful for NGOs building these kind of platforms, because we haven't even received our first funding yet. So normally this would be completely out of reach. And now we're able to do that to support the work that we do. So yeah, huge thanks to all of you for the work and this opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and we love supporting nonprofits and NGOs and things at Stacker. You know, we think no code is for everyone, for sure. Chaya, one thing I was going to say is, so Vincent, you know, and for everyone in the chat, we've gone over slightly, but you know, if you do want more sort of follow-up support, we've always got the community who are great. You can speak to our support team as well. But Chaya, the word community, I wanted to give you a moment just to talk about, you know, what your new thing before we finish.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Skive, you know, helps businesses with choosing and setting up the correct software. And what we found is that it's very painful. You know, choosing the right one is very hard. There's so many, and there are just so many options, and then getting it set up right, because, you know, something like Stacker, it just has so much flexibility. There are so many things you can do with it, and getting it set up right. And so in order to help everybody with the software pain, we are starting a community called Pain in the SaaS for people. I know, I couldn't give it up.
Amazing.
I couldn't give it up. And so we're starting a community called Pain in the SaaS, where we can help with whatever pain in the SaaS you are dealing with. So Ollie, I think after this, I'll give you a link that people can pre-register to join that community. It's free. But just a quick form to fill out if you want to join it when it's ready.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, no, I love it. Love the name. I think, the more support we can give each other, picking the right tool and implementing it and, getting stakeholders bought in for, X, Y, and Z. Love it.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, we're a few minutes over. So I'm going to call it a day just there. But thank you so much again, Chaya and Vincent. And thank you for everyone coming. And thank you everyone who's watching us on YouTube, in the year 2027 or whenever you happen to find it. The Slacker interface may have changed a little bit by then, perhaps.
I know, I was going to say 2027, we'll see if this is still relevant.
Yeah, but cool. Thank you again, everyone. And we'll see you all soon. All right, bye for now.